I grew up in a suburb of Chicago, about 25 miles northwest of the city, and lived there until I went to college. I was fortunate enough to get a baseball scholarship to Indiana University. Played for 4 years. It was a wonderful, wonderful period of time in my life. And then graduated with a degree in business economics. I began work for a firm that was owned by a private equity group. It was my first introduction or foray into a private equity business. I became familiar with a couple of owners of a business in Fairview, North Carolina, and subsequently recruited me into the company. And I moved down here in January 1994, and my family came down 6 months thereafter. And we've been here ever since. But it was an interesting next step into my career because it moved me from being an employee, if you will, into an ownership position. And the company grew further and further and further. And ultimately, we sold the company to Tyco. And the private equity group that originally recruited me to come down here from Chicago asked me to become part of their firm. It's evolved quite significantly in that I've started my own consulting business and offer those kinds of services to more than one private equity group. I've been very, very fortunate, very, very lucky. And I was very fortunate that I had good mentors along the way, wise men and women that had lived life both on a professional and a personal level, and was prepared to share those learning experiences with me. I think it's important for a young person to define for themselves what they really care about. And if I were to give them some guidance about that, I would say to them, it really doesn't matter what you do as much as how you do it. And in that regard, I go back to something my father told me and repeated to me often and often and often. He would say, son, there are two ways of doing things. There's the right way, and then there's every other damn way. And here we do things the right way. Picking the right road, although it seems harder at that juncture, at that crossroad, then you have no regrets. And I think that is some of the very best advice I've ever gotten and what I share with young people today. And while I think a lot of young people get stuck in the what am I going to do, as opposed to what am I passionate about, and how do I do that the best and be the best at that and be effective at that, and being patient with your passion and evolving it and developing it with your own fingerprints in it, I think is the real degree of success that one can have. I got involved in Appalachian kind of in a lucky way, I think. My son graduated, my oldest son, Matthew, applied at a number of different universities in North Carolina and was immediately accepted to this place called Appalachian State University. And I was at the campus and back in 2002, and as it were, I was in the audience of a speech that Ken Peacock was giving. And we met and chatted. And Ken and I spoke and communicated with each other from time to time. And at a certain moment, he extended an opportunity for me to be on the board advisory committee, which I gladly accepted. There was almost like a family environment there for me. And it was so different than the challenges of my business world. And it was so attractive as a result of that. Of course, over the course of time, Ken was promoted to chancellor. And some years after that, sat down with me and asked me if I'd be interested in a position of trustee. And of course, it's so difficult to say no to the chancellor. And so I agreed to be a trustee. And my career at the university has evolved and developed accordingly. The phrase, I invest in people and not things, is very true, and it cuts across both financial investments and personal time investments. In terms of my relationship and some of the history I have with Appalachian, so much of that revolves around people. The strength of my relationship with Chancellor Peacock is very deep, and I believe in him as a person. We spoke at length about a new program called Appalachian Access, and needed, if you will, some initial startup money. And here again was all about students that would otherwise not be able to enjoy any college experience. And one of the things that it exposed me to subsequently is I've met many of the students that have been benefactors of that. And nothing has been more satisfying than that. And not only do they tell you their story, but they're so very thankful. I oftentimes will try to stay connected, stay close, keep my antenna up for those areas in real need. And to a certain extent, I know what I'm looking for. I just don't know when it's going to come. But it's always built around people in both time and monies. It is all about the students. And being able to tell the Appalachian story and get that word out. The truth be known, I've been very, very fortunate. My wife, Kathy, you know, we're partners, and she gets me before I even get myself. I wake up every day and I thank God she's there, and before I go to sleep at night, I thank God she's there. That's how lucky I've been. Well, the Honorary Alumni Award to me is, it's just a wonderment. So when the trustees nominated and voted for me, and I was speechless. I did not know what to say. Frankly, just my relationship and association with the university has given me all of the joy and pleasure and challenges and accomplishments. This is really something unique and special to be recognized by your peers. I'm not sure I'm as deserving as perhaps some others, but it's wonderful. And I know as a trustee, I often get thanked for my involvement, but I can tell you it's very reciprocal, because it's allowed me so much growth and to meet so many wonderful people at so many different levels. Those will be lasting relationships for me. And at this stage of my life, that's so important and so meaningful.